Alors, aujourd'hui, la soirée, comme je vous disais, porte sur Adobe Creative Suite, en fait sur CS5. Et on a l'honneur d'avoir M. Colin Smith, ici, à côté de moi. Colin est un démo artiste, travaille avec Adobe déjà depuis 13 ans. C'est un Senior Solution Architect, parce qu'au Québec, avec l'ordre des ingénieurs, on ne peut pas dire ingénieur, alors Senior Solution Architect. Et il va nous présenter d'abord en première partie Photoshop Premiere, et en deuxième partie de la soirée, après la pause, on va avoir droit à une présentation d'After Effects, un Q&A, et finalement le tirage. Aussi, je tiens à vous dire que la présentation de Mr. Smith will be in English.
Okay, everybody. Saw Avatar, and it was a huge movie for Adobe. We have someone down in Hollywood, Mike Kampfer, who is Academy Award-winning visual effects artist. He worked with James Cameron on Titanic, and now he works for us at Adobe. He couldn't take the 2 years of working on a film, which the stress that puts on a family, so a nice 9 to 5-ish job is much better for him. But he worked with James Cameron for 4 years during the making of Avatar, making sure the Adobe software was doing what it did. We had engineers helping them out and tweaking things. So the whole time we were working on CS5, CS4, you know, it was a day-to-day process for them. So we're really happy that that came out. And we've got more movies coming out that have been finished in Premiere Pro. Some have been edited, well, almost all of them are edited on Avid simply because of the thousands and thousands of clips. A few have been edited in Final Cut Pro, and a lot of them are being finished inside Premiere Pro, especially CS5, which is now 64-bit, and it is just fantastic. Well, there's a revolution going on out there, and I'm sure you're all aware of the DSLR revolution. This is a Canon 5D, and that's, you know, one of the parts of the revolution. I spent 2 days in LA at a workshop, and I highly advise, if you have the $3,600, the next time this workshop comes up, it's 2 days. This was the very first one, and it's run by Shane Hurlbut, who is he's an ASC member of cinematographers, and he did Terminator Salvation. He was the DP on that. And what it is they've taken 18 months of hard work of figuring out what they used to do with film and how they make it work with something like this. And they give you those secrets. And it is just mind-blowing. The first day I got to participate, so the first day was there was one segment just on menus. And if you haven't noticed, when you open up a 5D out of the box, every single setting is wrong for making movies, right? Every freaking setting is wrong. So you literally have to go in and configure the whole camera. When you do, it's a movie camera. And it is a fantastic movie camera. Another session was on lighting and working with lenses. They also use not just Canon lenses, but they use, you know, a ton of different lenses, including lenses with PL mounts. And those are deep, really, really deep lenses. And the only way to fit those lenses in this body is by removing the mirror. So some of the cameras they're using are completely modified inside. The guts, the mirror is gone, and they're sticking these cinema lenses on them, and the results are just unfreaking believable. So day one, you learn about the gear. We got to play with big Fisher dollies and giant 24-foot cranes. The second day, you actually shoot. So there are Hollywood sets, actors, everything is lit, and you go out in teams and you shoot this video. But probably the most fantastic part for everyone, and almost everyone at this event was a Final Cut user, a few Avid people, some Premiere there, but predominantly Final Cut, was when they sat in the theater and they watched their edit up on a giant 40-foot screen. Two things happened. First of all, they were blown away that a $2,500 body could do that. And probably the most rewarding for us at Adobe is after they filed out of the movie theater and they walked past the 2 Premiere Pro editing stations, they came up to ask us questions. Because Premiere, the name Premiere has a lot of baggage on it. We would agree on that, right? And when we created Premiere Pro, we forgot to change the name because Premiere Pro is not Premiere. It was a brand new product written from ground up. So it's not Premiere. Even more so, now it's 64-bit. It's not even the same program again. So it has been rewritten to take advantage of fully 64-bit. So if you've got a Mac Pro with 32 gigs of RAM, we're going to use 32 gigs of RAM. You got 8 cores, we'll use 8 cores. We'll max them out. We'll make sure that all the processing power is there. Same with After Effects. Just beautiful. I want to show you just a quick update. This is a free update for CS5 users. We just announced this, I think about a week ago, 5.02 update. It's so big that they should call this the 5.1 update. So first of all, we have something called the Mercury Playback Engine, and I'll be showing you that. That's our new engine that allows you to play RED files in real time. I can edit 4K RED in real time on my MacBook Pro. We've updated it to support the new NVIDIA cards. So if you haven't been watching, NVIDIA introduced the 4000 and 5000 cards. And of course, you know, the sad thing about this is NVIDIA goes to Apple and they say, here's all our cards. And they go, nope, 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 nope. Yeah, we'll take that one. It's like, why don't they just support all of them? They don't. The RED workflow improvements, the RED Rocket is now supported. So you can actually offload a lot of the processing power that would normally happen on your CPU is going to go on the RED Rocket. We now support the Mysterium X with the giant sensor and the new color science. So we're up to date now on the latest. We can also easily edit the RED Cine X tools output, so the RMD files can now be brought in to Premiere Pro, native, dropped on the timeline, and played. We now support native Sony XD-Cam, 422 timecode, XD-Cam HD export support directly from 502. There's a brand new JVC camera that is QuickTime support, .move files, we support that. We've had DPX files in Premiere Pro. We can now support timecode in the header of those DPX files. Very useful. We also now support 10-bit color display. Look, I've got a Mac, I'm a big Mac fan, but let me tell you, if you've ever had the opportunity to sit in front of an HP Dream Color display, has anyone in here seen one of those things? Yeah, they're pretty remarkable. And if you see 10-bit, and we've been living with 8-bit cinema displays forever, you see 10-bit in front of you, it is just awesome. If you want Apple to support it, then start bashing on their door and tell them to support it, because it's just a monitor, and as long as it's DisplayPort on a specific card, like a Quadro card, they should be able to support it. Improved color grading, so along that same line, 10-bit support out of the Quadro cards, and we now support broadcast wave. So there's some big updates, and like I said, it looks like just an 02, but it actually feels like a 5.1 update. Okay. So I'm going to take you through all of the video parts of our applications and really concentrate on both Premiere and After Effects. And I'm going to show you a little bit of Photoshop, because there's been some updates that are really amazing in Photoshop that really do apply for things like set extensions and painting and things of that sort. So this is the new Premiere Pro CS5. One great thing that we now support is importing and exporting out of both AAF and Final Cut Pro XML. So you can export out your XML project, we can import it in. Apple did a fantastic job of writing that XML. It is incredible. It's really, really useful. And they're not about to switch it on us, like, you know, some people think, well, what if they switch a few things, it'll break? They won't, because the XML is supported by a lot of the third parties. So this is a robust format that we're now supporting in. And we know lots of people love their nonlinear editor and what they want to edit on. So if you're an Avid cutter, great. If you're a Final Cut cutter, great. But now you can open that up and you can get this right to Premiere Pro. And you can also import Premiere Pro projects into After Effects. So I get a question all the time, how do I get Final Cut into After Effects? This is how you do it. File, open. Once it's open in here, you can save the Premiere project. Right in After Effects, you can import the Premiere Pro project. You can also copy and paste. I could take all of that timeline, all the tracks, everything there, select it, copy it, go into After Effects, paste it, and it pastes inside. Premiere Pro is based on After Effects now. It is a resolution independent application. So when you start Premiere Pro in the past, you would have to choose a codec to work at for your project. Well, that's not how After Effects works. When you start After Effects up, the application just starts. And then you can create different comps at different sizes. Well, that's the way Premiere Pro works now. You don't have to create a sequence. You can just start Premiere Pro, and once you have it open, then you can start creating all of your comps. And you can see we've got a bunch of presets in here already, like red support, XDCam, HD. You would not believe how well AVC HD plays. Native AVC HD on a laptop plays. On a MacBook Pro or on a Mac Pro, it's going to be no problem. I mean, that's part of what the Mercury playback engine allows us to do. We support the new Canon XF camera, so both versions of those directly out of the box. You'll notice that we also have DSLR footage inside here. So native formats for any of the DSLR, which is really AVC HD. That's what the DSLRs are shooting at. We can also go to our general settings in here, and we can choose any of our, let me just go to desktop. And we support, let me go to my playback settings. All of the QuickTime formats. So once we go to Media Encoder, which I'll show you in a second, if you've got Final Cut installed on your system, all the ProRes codecs are available to us to output. So Media Encoder can now convert those, no problem, and Media Encoder is now a standalone application, and you can use it for After Effects. So I'll show you how you don't have to wait for After Effects to render anymore. You can just let it go into the background and work away. But here's my favorite new feature, and let me just show you that with a DSLR 5D footage. When I select this footage, we get information of every asset that you click on up in here. And it's always been a bit of a pain in Premiere Pro for not understanding the format of the asset that I'm about to use. Final Cut, smart enough to go, I've created a sequence. If I drop the wrong format in, Final Cut says, that's not right. You want me to make a sequence the correct one? Yes, please do. Well, you might be familiar with this feature in After Effects. You know that little page icon down in here where you can create a new sequence, titles, bars, and you can now drag this right onto here, and it's going to create a new sequence for me, and it's going to play it back. Yay. Thank you very much, everybody. Good night. That's a great one, right? Because sometimes you sit down and you're sure you have every single setting right, you drop it on there, and instead of a yellow bar, you get a red bar. One of your settings is wrong. So you have to go and figure it out. Now, drag and drop. Let's talk about that yellow bar. The yellow bar is telling you it thinks it can play that back in real time. And if we play this back, this is DSLR footage, and it was right. It could play that back in real time, no problem. The other thing that I take this for granted, but it's another great feature. Wherever your mouse is, when you hit the tilde key, you know the little squiggly key, I don't know if it's the same on the French keyboard, it's below the escape key on the English QWERTY keyboard. When you tap that, it takes whatever panel you're over and jumps to full screen. So down on my timeline, instead of resizing a panel or a window and then sizing it back, if I was doing work in my bins over here, I just hit that and now I've got full screen bins, easy to work with, tilde, and I'm out of there. I like that. The same with After Effects, same with Encore, same with Sound Booth. That's only the video apps do that. You'll get used to that very quickly. One other thing that we have that makes life so much easier is this media browser down here. So the media browser is going to allow me to do just that. I can now look at all of my files. I'm going to look at my directory of files and go into my demos. Down in here in Premiere, I've got some tapeless formats. And there they are. So when I open them up, some have thumbnails, some do not. We don't have thumbnails on AVC HD yet. We've got them on, this is AVC Intra files, Panasonic. So if you haven't worked with this format, this is a very large HD format with lots of compression, but there it's a full format. And you can see it's almost playing it back in real time. And the one thing I can do is I can tell the resolution to temporarily step down. We call this fractional resolution. And this is one way that the Mercury playback engine works. This is how I can edit 4K RED on a MacBook Pro. There's no way I can play back 4K on a MacBook Pro. But if I step this down, I can. So let me take this down to half res. And for editing, it's going to be okay. It's going to play back. No problem. So you've got options on how you can change that. If you call up just red footage, then you'll be able to go down to 1/16 resolution and play that back. If the format, because we can mix formats in the timeline, we don't care what's in the timeline. In that one timeline, you could put red, P2, XD-Cam, DV, AVC HD, Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, all in the timeline at once. We don't care. Fractional resolution will only be 1/2. There's too much math going on, too many different formats for us to step it down. But if you just have a whole bunch of red there, you can go all the way down to 1/16. Okay, let me just show you a few more formats. This is Canon AVC HD. So you know the odd way that the folders work. You know that P2 formats have all of those folders inside. Notice how it hides all those folders for us. We're jumping right to that right there. And when I go back to that AVC Intra, it's disregarding the whole folder structure and just showing me the video files. That's all I want. I don't care about the rest of the crap going on there. If you use Media Encoder and you output a P2 file, it's going to make the folder structure that P2 correct folder structure. So if you put that on a card and you stick it in the Panasonic camera, it's going to play back. Yeah, it fixes all of that. So you could stick whatever format you want. You could go from red to P2. And you know a good place to do that is AVC HD. Although we're doing a pretty good job of it, P2 plays back like butter. So if I had a lot of AVC HD footage, I would convert that to P2. Or ProRes in your case, but if you go to P2, it's great, and we'll create that structure, but we're just looking at those files right in there. Now let's talk about working with red footage. I mentioned that we can do a lot of things with red, including the color science. And if I try to play this back, this is a 2,800 some pixels. So this is like a 3K red file. No way I'm going to be able to play this back in real time. So if I take this down to 1/8, I happen to pick a clip that, there we go. So this is 3K red, almost playing back here in real time. And mind you, I've got quite a few other applications running at the same time. I am running this on a G-RAID with FireWire 800. So this is the G-RAID 1 terabyte, which is a real RAID together. So there are two drives striped in there playing back, just to let you know. But watch what happens when I right-click and choose Source Settings. I get the full color science settings from red, including the new RMD settings down here at the right. I can save these settings too. The coolest thing about this format, and let me get on my soapbox here and say, this is a breakdown of what happens when you leave a really rich smart format and you go to something else like ProRes. The only thing that ProRes gives you is the economy of scale to play it back on your timeline. Does it give you anything else? No. That's it. Red gives us this rich information of all this data inside, and we like to keep that information. For the simple reason that if I come in here, and I'm going to do a huge change just so you can see it. So I'm editing this, and if you've done any work with Camera Raw files, right? You're familiar with Camera Raw and something like Photoshop, you can tweak all the buttons and you can click Done, and it just writes those settings into the Done file, right? It's not physically changing it, it's all non-destructive. So if I click OK, you'll see the clip will change. This is not like adding color correction on it. I don't pay a penalty in time and CPU for doing this. This is free. And it's non-destructive, so if I go back to my source settings and choose as shot, click OK, I'm back to where I was. So talk about really easy, quick color grading. Not bad. And I could have saved that as a preset, selected a whole day of shots, and apply that to those settings. And then unapply those settings. Raw. That's where we're going. You know, I guarantee you, Canon has got scientists sitting there going, how do we do it? How do we capture raw? Maybe not as efficient and big right now as red, but who wouldn't take 1080p that we've got out of here? Who wouldn't take that and raw on here? I would. That would be huge, right? Go away from AVC HD and go to raw format in here. Everybody would love that. But if you're removing that intelligence in there, that's the problem. Okay, so that is the media browser over here. The other thing I love about being able to play back native formats like this and have the media browser is when time is money. You're on the set, you're out there and you're shooting on location, and you've got a certain amount of setups that you need to do. And any director is nervous about not getting coverage, right? The director says, well, I'm not really sure that I've got coverage, so what does a director normally do? They shoot more. Let's shoot more just so we got enough. Well, we wasted 2 hours shooting more. Instead, you say, hold on a sec, you take the native cards right out of here, you stick this right into a card reader, and the same with P2 or the, the Sony formats. You stick those into a reader, you drop them on the timeline, native, and you chop them up, you show them to the director. He looks at it and goes, you know what, we've got the coverage. All of a sudden, we're breaking down the set. We've got 10 setups today instead of 5, because the director felt good, they didn't have to get extra coverage. Time is money. And if you show them that stuff live, they'll probably be happy. So this is a wonderful part of the program. Nice media browser.